Hello once again. In the previous episode we discussed an old man being dominated by a pirate. Watch if you're into that sort of thing, I suppose. For some reason, this video proved more difficult to write than the previous ones. I don't know what it is, but with the other videos there were definitely many possibilities for what zany tomfoolery could transpire from them. But from this one I felt very limited, oddly enough, despite this being a very popular theory. Or maybe I just have a lack of motivation because I'm depressed. In any fact, I'm going to spend the first half of this video discussing the titular theory, and then go into some other zany Varys theories in the second half. So, we all know and love Varys. He's everyone's favourite bold person, right? Well, despite already being a very mysterious and complex individual, there may be more to his character. Because it's clear that there's something fishy going on with Varys. Of course, the main piece of evidence for why he may be some fishy human hybrid is because his legs and feet are never described in the books. Therefore, we shouldn't discard the possibility that Varys may indeed be a fish person. In the Song of Ice and Fire books, mermaids, or more specifically merlings, are mentioned a handful of times, and many believe that they saved Davos Seaworth at the Battle of the Blackwater and probably did something messed up to Patchface. Additionally, we hear how Varys is often described as gliding into rooms, and when Arya listens in on his conversation with Illyrio, the dripping of water is mentioned, and they are said to have emerged from a well. In the show, this theory is disproved as we see his legs in a few later episodes, which may be yet more mounting evidence of Varys being a merman in the story. Additionally, in his speech, Varys says some very cryptic things which could be interpreted as him confessing to being a merman for whatever reason. As when Tyrion threatens to throw him overboard, Varys claims that he might be surprised by the result. As well as this, he has his speech in Akok about how he just keeps paddling. However, if you do some quick research, you'll find that paddling is something done by humans, and also dogs. This is clearly a misdirect to throw Tyrion off the scent, as he was clearly catching on to Varys' words. Also, Varys doesn't show his teeth, and I'm pretty sure fish have weird teeth or something. He is also described as being hairless as an egg, and fish don't have hair, but they do lay eggs. So now that I've proven that Varys is clearly a merling, I think it's time to discuss the ramifications for what this might mean in his story. Well, when last we saw him, he returned to King's Landing and killed Kevan Lannister and Pycelle. And I don't think I need to remind you that at the beginning of this chapter, the melted snow is described as dripping. Obviously, it seems like Varys' intentions lie with trying to get Aegon VI on the Iron Throne, along with Griff, who are currently in the process of taking Storm's End. However, another force attempting to take the Iron Throne is Euron and the Iron Man. This brings to mind a recent line by Euron: "When the Kraken weds the dragon, brother, let all the world beware." This is clearly Euron explaining his plan of marrying Daenerys. However, one could also interpret it as another representing a dragon, Aegon, not literally marrying, but rather the other meaning of wedding, to combine the factors or qualities, with the other part being a fish person, Varys. Obviously, this has much more prominence with Euron and not Varys and young Griff, but this isn't the only mention or hint of sea creatures in Euron's story, as he is planning to take Old Town, which, of course, is home to the High Tower, built on a foundation of black greasy stone supposedly by the Deep Ones, a fish-human hybrid race. This could perhaps hint that Euron will also destroy the metaphorical foundation of Varys and Griff's rule on the Iron Throne. But what are the odds of that happening? Anyway, I think the idea of Varys being a merling works better as a metaphor for him being able to adapt to his environment and having inhuman qualities which allow him to go through with inhuman actions like sending children to kill Kevan, but not Pycelle though, that old f***er had it coming, he f***ing sucks. So, at the very least, I guess you could say that Varys got drip. Anyway, if you thought that video was weird and had some insubstantial evidence, then strap in for the next one. I'm sure you're all aware of the Fagon theory, in which young Griff is some sort of poser, as he is actually a Blackfire, explaining why he had the help of the Golden Company to take Storm's End. This has a lot of prominence in Daenerys' story, as she has been called the Slayer of Lies and is warned to be aware of the Mummer's dragon, as Varys is a mummer. But what if Varys is not only a mummer, but also a mother? That's right, we're at this point. Because Varys' penis is never described, the only logical explanation is that he is a woman. Just a quick note that, although this theory discusses Varys being a woman, I'm going to refer to Varys with the pronoun him, as firstly, it's what he identifies as, at least in the presence of Tyrion and other characters. Secondly, the Winds of Winter hasn't proven this to be right, and thirdly, just to simplify things. But you see, Varys is not just any woman. He's the mother of young Griff, or Aegon Blackfire. Despite supposedly all of the Blackfires having died, this is only the case with the male line. What's more, Varys is often described as being perfumed and effeminate, smelling like eastern spices. This is because he originally comes from Essos and somewhat makes frequent trips there to check in with his buddy Illyrio, or should I say his husband and most likely the father of his child, given that he actually cares for Aegon and wants to spend time with him. Although since when has that constituted a fatherly relationship in the story? Anyway, this brings me to the next point about Varys' supposed origin story, where he was sold to a priest of the Lord of Light and castrated. Melisandre says that there is power in King's blood when she leeches Edric's storm and burns Mance. Except just kidding, it was the old switcheroo and Rattleshirt dies instead. This could explain why Varys specifically was given to the Sorcerer of R'hllor, and perhaps he just added the detail of him being castrated in case anyone asked. But what if Varys wasn't a merman or a woman at all? What if Varys was a mermaid?
What is going on with you? What are you talking about? You sound insane.
If this was for some reason true, then perhaps in this particular case a dragon did actually marry a kraken or some other fish-type creature to create Varys, and that his plan for taking the Iron Throne is what all the world should be afraid of. Or maybe he really is just a eunuch who wants his buddy's adopted son on the throne. Well, I think we've all learned a valuable lesson today about why you should never judge a book by its cover. In fact, you should always assume the most outlandish and head-scratching aspect of that person to be fact until you're proven wrong. I too am waiting for Varys to release his foot pigs. Anyway, it's that time again when I spin the wheel to see what zany, wacky theory could possibly be on the docket for the next video. Wow, I didn't see that one coming. Anyway, check back in a few weeks to see a video on that specific theory that just came up.